third tool we'll look at from a dashboard standpoint is called Pulse. It's a Macola-centric dashboard tool developed by another reseller that we work with. It works with Progression, Macola Progression or Macola ES, and actually it's pretty seamless between the two. Just point it at the data and it knows what it's looking at. It's not, and again, contrasting it with WISIS Agility, it's not really as much of a development tool. It's more of a pre-configured dashboard, plug and play, but it is easy to adjust, and you can extend it with Crystal reports and SQL scripts, and you'll see what I mean by that here in a minute. This is the one that I characterized in the slides as being more of a plug and play, pre-configured type of tool. And we're newer to Pulse than, speaking of algorithm, we're newer to Pulse than we are of some of those other tools, but we've been very impressed with the ease of use and the instant value that it provides to customers, where this is literally something you can install in the morning and be looking at your data in the afternoon. Not the others aren't, but this is a pretty nicely configured tool right out of the box. What we see here is I have different tabs across the top, where I have executive, financial, customer service. So sort of like WISIS had them down the left-hand side. This is somewhat analogous to that across the top here. And this happens to be my executive screen. Here you can see I can have sub-tabs. So here's my summary tab, here's my GL control tab, et cetera. And on my summary tab, I've chosen to have several different boxes of information. So here's current balances. And so I've chosen to look at in this case, my AR, my AP, and my finished goods inventory. Notice AP might be of a slight concern there, but that's the kind of information I want as perhaps an executive to see, is my AP out of whack? And then I can notice here when I mouse over these, it gives me a drill down capability, so I could click there and drill down if I chose to. Over here, and by the way, these are very easy to configure. So for example, all I have to do let's say I want to add another GL account here. See this red wrench here? All I have to do is click there, come down here, click the plus sign, and say which account do I want to add to this. And I'm just going to pick one at random. It may or may not have any data in it. I say OK, and now that account is added to this inventory finished goods section of my report. Likewise, I could do the same thing using the top section on the prior screen and just add a whole new section down here. So very simple to do that. And then once I do it, notice this green save and share box. I'm in here as perhaps the president of the company or the director or whomever, but I can create these boxes and share them out to other users. There is a user control section over here. I'm going to click on this right box in the upper right-hand corner. And notice I'm the only user in here, but here I can authorize users to see different pieces of this puzzle when they log into the Pulse system. So obviously I maybe don't want everybody looking at the GL or other financial information, but I do want them to see their customer service or inventory or purchasing related information. Pretty easy for me to manage either by individual users or, as you can see here, by groups of users. So nice capability there to do that kind of configuration and deployment. So just looking at my executive summary. Let me go back away from some of the buttons here and go to what some of the data is. Here's my customer orders summary. I've got month-to-date actual versus budget, year-to-date actual versus budget. And again, my demo data, as usual, is a little out of date. Here's my AP aging, my AR aging, open orders for customers, subtotal through month end, subtotal future beyond that are due beyond month end, things like that. But I have even more down here when I scroll down. Here's my daily booked graph, monthly booked graph, invoiced for both, including budget and projection. There is, if I go up under here under sales and marketing, there is a budget entry tool that allows me to hand enter sales budgets. So that I can measure it against those. I can also import them via Excel, and it gives me a template to put that information in. So pretty nice capability there to look at actuals, projections, and budgets right on a graph here. Margin information, and then customer orders for this month by day as well as for the same month last year. So you can see here are the days of the month down the right-hand side of the box. And then you can see here that, again, I don't have a lot of order being pumped in there, but in a regular business, we would obviously have a number of booked orders and invoiced orders here showing up. So handy tools for the executives to kind of keep their fingers on the pulse, if you will, pardon the pun, of what's going on. Okay, so we've looked at the executive tab, we've looked at the sub-tabs, we've looked at some of the settings here. Incidentally, there's also an export to Excel for all of these capabilities. There's a financial tab. Let me skip over to the customer service tab. So again, these are tabs that I may deploy out to my individual users or groups of users depending on their function in the company. So here I've got items causing shortages. And again, I didn't have to program this. This all comes straight out of the box when you install the product. It just looks at your Macola data and calculates all this. So I can see for this bike, I've got one on hand. I've got a calculated demand quantity of 400. I've got 2 orders that drove that demand, and you can see what my net deficit is there. So that's kind of nice. I've got, again, not a lot of good data in here, but daily shipping graph, monthly shipping graph, fill rates, things like that. I go to the other sub-tab here. I've got monthly booked, monthly invoiced, pardon my typos there, weekly booked and invoiced as well. So some of these boxes may be duplicated from what we saw over there on the executive tab, and that's fine, where I can either have the same view that they have, or I can customize my own version of it with different filters over here, so I'm only looking at certain pieces of the pie that relate to what I do. Here under sales and marketing, again, getting back to that budget analysis. So here we're looking by customer, year-end invoice budget, quarter-end invoice budget, et cetera, et cetera. You can read them right across there, so some nice analysis there. So that's budget analysis. Here's ordered analysis versus invoiced analysis by customer. Stock status, this is nice, where I can look at my product categories and my classes and look at the dollar values in each. I can look at my inventory turns. And here's a nice one. Again, the developers at Pulse did a lot of work to look at some exceptions that people commonly see within the Macola data. So overstocked items with greater than 3 months supply, I can see I have 75 of those. If I want to look at them, I can drill down and see a list of those and then go take some action based upon that. Here are purchased items with no primary vendor. You can read these yourselves, but just some common exception issue type things that maybe our inventory manager, materials manager wants to keep their eye on in the Macola system, and we put it on a dashboard here for them, and it becomes quite easy for them to do that. And then down below here, we've got some inventory turn details, charts, things like that. The last one I'll show you here today is the purchasing tab. I don't have a lot of good data on here, but you can see if I want to analyze open purchase orders by dollar amount, number of orders, and percentage. I've got some purchasing exceptions, kind of like I did over in inventory. Purchased items with no cost, that's a possible issue. Purchased items with no primary vendor, like we had on the other report. And then no PO lead time, so it's going to hurt my ability to predict and analyze there. So again, I can drill into any of those. So again, that is a thumbnail sketch of the Pulse dashboard from Macola tool.